Welcome back, guys. I'm super excited for this one because it's just a neat little project. Now, let me describe on how I got here. So I watched this guy, Peter Brown. He's really awesome. If you haven't seen him before, you gotta check him out. I'm gonna leave a link down there just so you do. Anyways, he ended up making these dragon eggs, and he was doing it from another YouTuber, BuzzFeed. Unfortunately, I think there was a miscommunication with BuzzFeed on what to actually use. I believe you're supposed to use cement instead of concrete, but I'm not exactly sure because I didn't test that out. Anyways, what Peter Brown ended up doing was really awesome because instead of trying to coat the inside, he ended up coating the outside. And I feel like it gave it a much better look. I don't think that dragon eggs should really be like smooth on the outside. And by the way, these could also be dinosaur eggs if you want to use them for that instead. So anyways, Peter Brown made a really nice outside layer to it. Now, while I was watching his video, I thought there was a couple things that would be really neat because basically his concept was he took and he put concrete on the outside of a balloon. Then once it cured, he cracked it open and painted the inside. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if it was already painted? And then wouldn't it be even cooler if there was something inside? So that's what I'm gonna try to do in today's video in order to improve on his, which his is a very good video. Still go and watch it. But all right, let's get to it. Oh yeah, and real quick, there's something that you're not gonna see in the thumbnail, so you're gonna wanna watch this all the way through. All right, so I'm gonna take and end up painting these, and I'm gonna use a variety of paints for each different one depending on the colors that I want and what I have available. Almost anything will work to paint these off of the 3D printer. Also, if you don't have a 3D printer, you can order your prints offline or just use something that's not 3D printed. What made this a little extra fun is I got each person to do each other's without them knowing. Down here, down. Okay. Let go. Once you got it in a shape that you're happy with, you want to take and cover this with a penny. So if you notice, this one's not really that good of an egg shape. I think it's actually best to blow them up all the way first and let them get stretched out. And then when you take some air out, they'll get a little better there. You can also try to coax them a little bit, try to stretch them out. All right, so here's a setup, and I'm gonna explain this because it's gonna go quick. I have a disposable area because it's gonna be really messy. I got a thing here to hang it over. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be using plaster of Paris. And I'm gonna mix that half with sand. And this is just mason sand. You can use play sand too, that should work as well. I can't tell you exactly how much water, but you wanna make sure it's fairly runny and mix it thoroughly. Now when you get it like this, try to give it some texture. And that'll be layer one. Now we just gotta let it dry. All right, so now before we put a second layer on here, we need to take and spritz it with some water. Otherwise it won't stick very well. You need to make sure you get it all over. This is a good time to cover any areas you believe were too thin and thicken them up a little bit. Again, make sure you get as much texture as you can on there. The first one was to get this texture kind of started and to give something for the next layer to attach to a little bit better. But yeah, there we go. Giving it a little extra texture just by touching it real quick. All right, so now that you got it and it's perfectly dry, you're gonna have to want to deattach it. And then you're gonna want to get this off and let the air out. You can go ahead and break some of this off. Just a little bit, not too much. Now this one's stuck in some spots in there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spray it and let it sit. So if you saw that, little spurts of water helped it out. Now I'm gonna tie the end on it, or tie this wire, string, whatever you got. I just wanna make sure we don't lose this. For this, you're gonna wanna use paints that are fairly runny. So I'm gonna use spray paint in a second, which should work good. But you don't wanna use like an acrylic unless you have something to water it down with. You do have to worry about the fumes that's coming off of it as well though. So now I'm just gonna pour all this in here. And then work it around. Also, if you end up noticing like paint in certain areas, you'll be able to identify thin areas. And what you'll want to do is after you're done with this process, you'll want to go over it with a little bit more to make it a little thicker. I don't have any on this one to show you. And then we're going to set this over by an air vent for it to dry. Keep in mind if you have, like with the spray paint one, A is going to have some propane in there. So you have to be careful where you ventilate these out, but you're going to want to let the airflow pass this and let it dry for quite some time. Periodically, just move this around a little bit. All right, for this one I have a little bit of a different approach because I want to take and use some silver spray paint. I've made this little hose adapter and it's going to allow me to spray into there. This is a little bit messy. Same process as before. All right, so this is going to be the same mixture as before. However, I'm going to add about half of this. Now, I tried this with paint and it didn't work. It stopped it from setting properly. So now we're at the point that's probably going to take the most patience, which is getting this balloon out. So I don't have an exact good way of doing this aside from cutting it with whatever you may have and then pulling it out in bits with some sort of a hooky device. Now you could say that we could just patch this and you could have just put the object in there, but I also did this so that way you could incorporate any size object, so you could do really big objects in here. I happen to do some that are a little smaller, but they're still, it would be a big hole like this. And we're trying to make it as small as possible. There we go. All right, so if you did good, you'll end up with a hole about that big. If you had a mistake like I did, you'll have one that big. But we're gonna mix this up again, but this time it's gonna be thicker. It needs to be pretty thick. You'll have to kind of eyeball that. And we're just gonna not worry about how it looks yet, but we're just gonna put a patch on there. And you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to spray it. So I'm gonna spray over it. I hope some of that soaks in. All right, so now it's a matter of painting these, and I'm gonna paint them, of course, on the colors that the people like. And I'm gonna basically do the bright color on the bottom and then do the dark on the outside. Real quick, I want to say a special thank you to all you guys that have been encouraging me and help push me along through this process. These videos take a ton of work and the editing sometimes can be dreadful. So I really appreciate all those encouraging thoughts and all those likes I see on those videos. All right, let's check them out.
Got the golden ticket.
That's dope. So this is with glow-in-the-dark paint. So that adds an element using glow-in-the-dark paint. That looks just wicked awesome. All right.
Give me my child.
All right, guys, these were really fun to make. And like I said, you can make them into dragon eggs, dinosaur eggs, maybe ostrich eggs, whatever your imagination can dream up for your kids or whoever you want to give them to. Also, you can put many different things inside, and you could put candy in there, chocolates, whatever. I don't know. Think about something. Anyways, until next time, keep creating.